Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady coming to you from my heated shed. We have really cold weather predicted, which is why I'm scrambling to make these videos to share with all of you, if for no other reason to make you not feel like you're an island that's going to have damage to your garden. My neighbors are having some tree work done, so it's really crazy loud outside. So I'm not sure I can actually do any videos with audio from outdoors because there's a grinder and lots of equipment happening outside. But nevertheless, I wanted to make a quick video about just sort of commiserating about the reality of a really big cold snap at this time of year when so many of our ornamental plants have already started actively growing, they're flowering, they're pushing out new growth. I don't necessarily have any like magic tips. I wish I did, and I should be following those magic tips if they existed. My approach to ornamentals is kind of tough love. You know, if I don't think anything's actually going to die from this cold snap, but I definitely count on damage. And if you have things in bloom, those flowers are definitely going to get nipped. But overall, my approach is if a plant can't withstand the realistic temperature fluctuations of spring, I probably don't need to be growing it. And this is a big part of my motivation for focusing on more native plants in the new property, because at least in theory, they're going to be better adapted to these kinds of conditions. I don't know if that's universally true, but at least like to think it is. So, I hope that this video will be helpful in some way, if for no other reason than just to know that you can commiserate with me over your dissatisfaction of the current forecast. Well, this would be the moment that I would say get excited about making some flower arrangements so that you can maximize your enjoyment, because it is entirely possible that the cold will damage things that are flowering right now, including things like daffodils, camellias, edgeworthia. I have a bunch of different cherry varieties in flower, and yeah, 25 degrees, I would say usually 23 degrees is the temperature that I get really nervous about. I think we're still predicted for 25, although, you know, that can change like hour to hour. But my best advice for if you want to preserve flowers or enjoy them to their greatest, use this as your excuse to have a bunch of cut flowers inside. So of course, with the mild weather we've been having, there's quite a lot of leaves that are starting to come out. You can see here, this is on a Deutzia, and of course Forsythia is notorious for pushing out growth very early. And these plants will be fine. They're not leafed out that much, and these are totally hardy. So there's no need to go to any extreme measure to protect this foliage. Even if it does get nipped, it'll recover. And definitely things like hamamelis or witch hazel are more frost tolerant. I think this coralopsis will be fine. This is just starting to bloom. But I suspect that these magnolias and cherry blossoms will definitely be damaged. So now is a good time to just get outside and enjoy what's blooming before the frost hits. And I'll definitely be making some floating flower arrangements from all of these beautiful flowers, because the camellias, you know, they're totally hardy. The plant itself isn't going to be damaged, but the flowers will definitely look bad after 25 degrees. And overall, I think the edgeworthias will be fine. They're actually coming to an end of their flowering. You see all of the flower buds have basically opened. And so I'm going to just bring some in to be able to enjoy their fragrance inside, recognizing that, yeah, they might end up with a little damage and the flowers might fall off earlier than they would, but overall I think they'll be fine. Plants like hellebores, like you see here, they are totally hardy. You know, I just like to gather these for floating arrangements because I don't want to have to get on my hands and knees to enjoy the blooms.
if I cared more about hydrangeas, I would be going to efforts to protect these, because you see how much growth they have. This is actually why, similar to deciduous magnolias, I don't love hydrangea macrophylla. I just find it to be a really tedious plant for this environment, and I'm not going to go to great lengths to protect it. And this frost might mean that we don't get any flowers this year, which would not be the first time for that to happen. So as you can see, this area is growing really nicely. The tulips are just about to open. And I actually transplanted these cabbages. These were the only ones that weren't completely destroyed from the January cold. So I think it's just worth the effort. We're just going to clip on the tarp attached to that cattle fence, and then we'll be able to put bricks down to hold it in place. And I don't think it's supposed to get super windy. So a lot of times covering does a lot of damage because it either gets weighed down or the wind blows and that damages the plants underneath. But I think in theory we're going to be able to prevent that from happening.
Well, it doesn't bring me any pleasure to do this at all, but I do hope that all the videos in my Spring Cold Snap playlist will be useful resources for all of you as we navigate the reality of the impending spring season, where temperatures can go from really, really hot to really, really cold without a lot of notice. Well, sending you all the best, and thanks so much for watching, everybody.